Good afternoon and greetings from my kitchen remodel. Today this video that I put together is basically going over my new Fuji spray system, which is a mini mite 4. I know if you follow my channel before, I did an introduction to spraying lacquer video where I praised HVLP guns and air compressor style setups, which I still think are very awesome and applicable. The reason that I bought a new sprayer is because I was remodeling my kitchen and I had a ton of work to do. So if you're not familiar with my channel, I have a sawmill in my driveway and I normally do a lot of live edge furniture, but I do have all the tools and things necessary to do a remodel. And so my wife and I decided a lot of things that were bugging us we were gonna go ahead and fix. So to give you a quick rundown on my kitchen, everything that is white, these were all existing cabinets here and they were professionally repainted. There was some uppers that you'll see here on the right hand side. I built all of those and we have all new backsplash. It looks really good. The primary thing that I was responsible for was building this kitchen island, and it's in a navy blue, same shaker style design. And what we're building or finishing today is all of the drawer fronts. You can see that it comes down here and has the same shaker style pedestal base for the island. And then all these built-ins here I built. And you can see the blue on the side here. We're going to be completing the doors and drawer faces for all of that. All right, so here's the setup that I use. It's a Fuji Mini Mite 4. I'm not going to go through all the specs and everything with this system because there's a lot of people that have already explained it. One of them is a guy named Brian CNC. He does a fantastic video on YouTube. He's got a couple videos that I watched that really helped me get the basics going. Essentially, the higher up you go in units, the more series or the stronger the turbines are, so you can spray products with thicker viscosity. So this is the beginning of their professional series line, and I really like it a lot. This comes with the upgraded gun, the T-series gun. I really like this gun a lot, and so far I've had zero problems or issues with the setup. All right, so here we're going to be mixing up our primer, and I like using these ladles because it's easy to measure. And what we're going to do is 5 ladles of the Sticks primer. So now we're going to add 3/4 of a ladle of water into the 5 ladles of paint. And I actually mix it with the ladle. I think it's a lot easier to move a lot of the product around. And then I'll follow it up with the stir stick. All right, so the next step is they give you this viscosity cup, and Fuji has a chart on what the flows are supposed to be for this heavy primer with a 1.8 millimeter tip, which is what's in my T-series gun. I believe it's supposed to be 38 to 52 seconds, and I've been running right around 45, so we'll see where we're at right now. All right, well, I stopped that test halfway through because I could tell we weren't going to make it. A little bit of water goes a long way. So this is all I'm going to add in there. And then I'm going to do some more mixing with this and we'll recheck it. A shot here. I kind of like to make sure it's all the way clear of water first. And after talking to Fuji, it's from when you start to flow to when you see the break in stream. All right, so that's right at about 42 seconds. So we'll load it in the cup and get ready to spray. All right, so the advantage of using the hangers is that you can spray the entire door in one shot. And basically what you'll see me doing is I have the gun set on the ball pattern and I spray the top of the door where the hanger is, which is actually the bottom in real life. So that way those little holes will never be seen. But for purposes of the video, you see me spray the top of the door first, and then you see me spray the bottom of it, and then I go through and use that ball pattern on the inside
of all of those corners of the inside of the panel, and then I widen the pattern out and go through spraying the rest of the door. So again, I'm learning this process, and I'm kind of figuring out as I go. So one way or the other, the finish looks fantastic, 100 times better than if I used a roller. So one thing that I ended up doing that you're not going to see in the video is my frustration was switching back and forth constantly between the ball pattern for the interior panel and then the fan pattern for the rest of the door. So I ended up just doing a bunch of doors. I did the ball pattern and then I came back, sprayed them all, and that way I was only switching the pattern once, and it ended up working out much better.
All right, so one quick thing that I want to point out is some of my doors were already finished in a brown stain, and I prepped them all by sanding, but the areas that I didn't get, because they were a pain in the ass to get to, were all these corners. And when I did some test sprays yesterday, the primer, which this primer is really sticky, did not get there. So if you're refinishing a door, really make sure you get these corners well and sand them out. Otherwise, you got to go back and redo it. And if you see this red stuff on there, when I was watching my professional painters paint my other cabinets, I saw them use this Bondo glazing and spot filler. This stuff is awesome. So definitely a tip from the pros. After watching those guys do it, I picked up some, and it fills way better than wood filler or silicone, and it dries relatively quickly as well. It sands out fantastic. So we'll get back to spraying here in a second. All right, so now it's the next day. The primer has dried. You saw me just hold up a 150 sanding pad. I only use that to knock down kind of the high mountain of Bondo. I put it on there pretty thick, and then once the high spots are knocked down, I use these blue sanding pads that I get off Amazon. I think they're 500 grit, and they work really well about taking off the dust nibs and the raised grain from the water-based primer. After this gets all sanded and everything knocked down, I blow it off with compressed air, and then you're going to see me hang it all kind of in a staging area. That's the advantage of the hangers, is it's really easy to manage all of your pieces. And for me, holding the spray gun for like 4 hours at a time isn't that much fun. So I split it up. You'll see me do half the prep and spray, and then I take a break, and then I do the other half later. Kind of splits up the monotony of the process. So the intent of the video is not to bore you with me spraying, but it was at this point during the day that things actually were not going good. I think it's important to show you the challenges as well as the successes. I could not get the gun to spray right. I went with thinning the product. I went to thickening it, and it just would not work. So the only thing that seemed to work was me keeping the pattern in the ball, which is what I was originally using to spray the inside of the doors. And it was the only thing that looked good. So I kept this, a little unorthodox here, but I kept it in the ball pattern and then just went straight down this door face. And overall, it ended up looking good. It didn't run. And so in the long run, it ended up setting up just fine. But it's just a process of learning this system. I mean, this gun has like 4,000 five-star reviews. So it's certainly not the gun. It's me learning it. All right, we're definitely making some progress on the doors. It's still bothering me that I'm getting that splatter pattern a little bit. So I went back and watched those Brian CNC videos real quick, and I think that my paint is too thick. So it's really hard because all the pros will say, don't use those viscosity cups, just do it all by feel, but there's no way that I can portray to you in the video what is or isn't working as far as feel's concerned with the thickness of the paint. So I've taken the paint down to 36 seconds on the cup, which is definitely a little thinner than I was spraying it earlier. Earlier it was up to 48. So now we're down to 36. and I want to show you, I think we're getting in the sweet spot here. The tricky thing that you have to realize is the thinner you go, since I'm spraying vertical and not horizontal, I risk having the runs in it or drips. But take a look at this. I think we're getting close. All right, I am definitely going to say that I am much happier with this. It's way less of that splatter and it's laying down real thin. So let's take this over to a drawer face and see how it looks on one of the actual pieces.
So I tried my best to film what I was doing close to the camera without spraying it. The flatness of the GoPro makes it look kind of distorted, like it's at an angle, but I can assure you that I'm spraying all four sides equally. And honestly, this gun is pretty forgiving. If you're not dead on straight and flat for what I'm going for, it ended up looking really nice. So, you know, day 3 here, spraying, I don't even know how many doors and faces I have. You can get a little sloppy, but the results were still great.
All right, so here's a quick look at the makeshift drying rack. It was just some ripped down 2x4s, and right now it's January in Reno, and the weather's like 60 degrees in the day, so I can spray outside, but I found that you don't want this water-based paint to cure when it's freezing. It just starts doing some goofy stuff, so the doors all turned out really great, and the drawer faces, and I've got all of the crown cut as well as all the side pieces. So now I'm just doing some touch-up paint on the carcasses and we'll get these doors installed. And I really like the finish. You can see in the light here, if there is a teeny bit of orange peel, it would be an absolute minimum. It looks pretty dang close to the lacquer finish that they professionally sprayed on our other cabinet. So overall, I'm satisfied with how it looks, and let's get it installed.